Since we have 3 public participations, it would bring us past 1:30 anyway, so why not do those now and let our public have that opportunity.
Our first speaker is Trent Wickwire. If you to please approach the table, Trent. And I'll remind everyone who's doing public participation that you can have a seat, that you will be allowed 5 minutes to make your comments to the State Board of Education, and as listed in their bylaws, they do not typically respond to public participation, but they're happy to hear your comments. And you'll be able to see how much time you have left here.
We don't respond here at the table. We might respond later.
Right.
Right, I'm corrected. They don't respond here at the table. They may respond to you later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir, please.
All right. My name's Trent Wickwire. I'm from Dundee, Michigan. And I came here today to give a high-level summary of a proposal that I would like to make. I've talked to a few people in Lansing about it already. I've contacted the governor's office, members of the legislature. I also have discussed it with our recently departed superintendent in Dundee and members of the school board. And thus far, I've gotten a lot of encouraging feedback, but not a lot of commitment, because there doesn't seem to be a consensus on whose ball it would be to carry, if you will, from an administrative standpoint. The idea really came about a year ago this month. There was an article in our local paper in Dundee bemoaning some of the proposed legislation in Lansing and proposed budget cuts in the school district. And there was a very strong emotional appeal to not cut anything from anywhere, with really what I thought was a reckless regard for taxpayers' ability to pay. But to be against something, I also feel like I have to be for something, so I created my own proposal. And I would like to use this time to give a high-level summary and ask for permission to come back at the May 10th meeting to make a more formal presentation, if you could allow me to do that. Obviously, there are conflicting priorities that we face in education. The most dominant one, obviously, is academic performance. We shouldn't do anything that is going to compromise the ability of our students to learn and become more knowledgeable and skilled members of society. But there are some realities that conflict with that. Obviously, current budget constraints are a problem. We all know about the governor's proposal. Some of us wish it were different, but the fact is that he needs to do something about the cost of the state government, because the state is out of money. The federal government is out of money. They almost had a shutdown, and now they have to figure out how to borrow more than $14 trillion. School districts, we've got apparently only, 43 running a deficit. That may change. That may well change when the cuts come through. And speaking on behalf of taxpayers, let me just say that we're out of money too. So that's the current budget constraint. We also have the legacy cost of the pension system hanging over our head. And we also have to be fair to the current employees. So what I've developed is a proposal for allowing school districts to give families an option for a reduced kind of a service program where families could accept more of the responsibility, but the control mechanism is in place at the local school district to ensure that there's no fraud and academic improvement is made through the course of the year, and controls are in place to pull students into the mainstream system if they appear to be failing based on the criteria. School districts would purchase a ready-made curriculum that corresponds to Michigan standards, give materials and testing cadence to the family so that they could prepare the students and make sure the students are there to take the test, and it would be up to the families to be sure that their students are ready to take the test. And this and the idea is that we need to not only allow families to accept this responsibility, but actually encourage them. The way that I believe that this addresses the 4 major issues is that it allows school districts to manage the impact of reduced per-student aid by reducing the cost the cost incurred by some students. It allows academic performance to be maintained through verification of student performance and allows smaller classes in the traditional system. It reduces the legacy cost by slowing the growth of the people who will be on the pension in the future, but it can be done in a way that protects the current members of the workforce by increasing the number of desks available in the system through normal attrition. And I got 2, 1. That's it.
Thank you, sir.
very much.
Appreciate your
Just,
thoughts.
I guess, just a follow-up question. If I wanted to arrange to be on next month's agenda, would I talk to Ms. Snyder, or?
Well, in terms of your proposal, I'd request that you, if you give us something in writing that's more detailed that you would like to, we'll make sure the board all receives that.
Okay. And could I come here and make my case for that, or?
You certainly can come back for public forum or public participation again.
Okay.
I mean, maybe the in-between would be to expand on what you just described, which sounded, obviously you've given it a lot of thought, and if we could see that in writing, and then maybe based on your presence next month, we could, there won't be a response as such, because the board gets, as you know, lots of
Oh, I understand.
input from the citizens, but
Okay.
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Our second speaker is John Love.
If you want to pass this around, everybody. Well, this is the best meeting I've been to in the last 3, so it's an improvement.
Thank you for that.
Keep coming and we'll be really good pretty soon.
All right.
Oh, yes.
Today, we're going to talk about local control myth, the dropout factories, and data. The local control myth is that is a myth because the state pays the bills. They cover the bonds, and there's a constitutional duty of general supervision. Romney and Danhoff were on this convention when they wrote it, and it said that this public education responsibility, general supervision, is the State Board of Education, and that was voted on by the people. Everyone that's in office swears to support the Constitution, and that's what the words are. If they've got some of these statements that limit this, they're in violation of their sworn duty to support that principle. And look at it this way. If you had gateway computers and you had a lot of stores all over the country, would you have the stores say, well, we're going to run the store this way, we'll buy computers here, we'll do this and do that? No, you'd have an organization that would oversee the operation and of how they conduct their business, and that's what needs to happen. We have 750 local districts, 57 intermediate school districts, 28 community colleges, and boy, there's a lot of waste in that system. And I'll tell you that, and I guarantee it. I've talked to people from the janitor in Flint that could tell me right off the top of his head the kind of waste that's going on in that school system. And that's just one. So, believe it's there, and it needs to be controlled, and that needs to be the priority. I think the change should be, this board needs more money. He wants to cut money out of education. Well, sending it down to these school systems, they need to send it up here so that profound knowledge is disseminated to all of these schools that need help. They need help. They need professional help. You've talked about it a little bit here today. Let's move on to the dropout factories. I read in the paper, the United Way and General Motors are starting an introductory program to deal with the dropout program, and I don't see the State Board of Education involved in that process. The superintendent issued a challenge. There should be a mandate, not a challenge, not please let's do something about dropouts. It should be absolute. This system is the basis for the educational system in the state. And what does the data show? Let's talk about the facts. Well, I read in the Free Press, April 1st, 2/3 of the fourth grade kids failed the national test. The black failure rate was 3 times what the whites were, and it was the same failure rate as it was 6 years ago. So we're not making any progress. We have the highest paid teachers, and our performance is below average in the United States. Detroit lost $333 million with an emergency financial manager because he doesn't know what he's doing either. It's such a big mess, one person isn't going to fix it. It needs a team. It needs a Manhattan-type project to fix it. 150 schools in the paper are broke. You talked about some of them that are on life support. You can't just say, oh, you guys figure out how to do it. You mentioned a little bit about getting some reinforcements from Treasury. You need to have people with profound knowledge go down there and say, hey, we got to change this thing around now, not, well, we'll give you a 2-year extension to think about it some more. So let's go over it again. Local control is a myth. The only profound knowledge resides here. You need more money, you need a pay raise, you need to get this thing fixed. And the only people that can do it are the ones that are charged by the Constitution with the duty to fix it. Dropout rate, it's a mess. Data, these test results show we got a big problem. And we're going to have 550 school districts figured out. You can't even send them a note and telling them there's a problem. It would take you a month to do it the way it's organized. And all these intermediate school districts, there's too many horses in the race. It needs to be consolidated, streamlined, and managed like a professional operation. $23 billion is spent on education in Michigan. More than that, but that's kind of what I figured out close. That's half of what they gave GM to bail them out. So it's a lot of money, a lot of responsibility. So let's get organized so we can do it and get the money from Lansing.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I volunteer, by the way, to take the pay freeze or the cut that may come, but I appreciate the shout out. Anyway.
Well, you do need it, you know, for the responsibility that you're going to have.
Thank you, sir.
Still have.
Our next speaker is Sandra York. And I have distributed the materials that Sandra gave me to give to you.
I'm Sandra York, Executive Director for the Michigan Parent Teacher Student Association up until a few days ago. One of the first things I want to share is that we just came back from our 93rd annual convention. Most of you know that, or many of you know that in Michigan we've been here about 93 years. Nationally, PTA has been around for 114 years. And we did take it to our delegates to return the name to Michigan PTA, which Michigan was started off as a Michigan Congress of Parents and Teachers, and some years back they added the S in, which was student, to sort of highlight the student component. And what we've discovered since then is that it does create a bit of a branding issue. People don't necessarily relate Michigan PTSA or MPTSA to Michigan PTA. And removing the S does not in any way change our commitment to students. Obviously, it's why we're here. We still have a vice president for student involvement on our board, as well as 3 seats for students on the board. But you will see the name change moving forward. It may be not an overnight process, obviously, because we have a lot of materials out there. The second thing I would like to talk about is the resolutions that we passed at convention. 3 were adopted by our delegates. The first one is against bullying, and we know bullying's been on the book for a long time, and there has been a resolution in place through national PTA, and it isn't necessary for us locally to have one, but because Michigan is 1 in 5 states that does not have anti-bullying legislation, we felt it was important to bring that to Michigan to activate our members to make sure that legislation goes through. As parents, we can and as the State PTA Association, we can support effective policies and programs. We can inform and support parents and the general public, but we need the legislature and Governor Schneider to enact anti-bullying legislation. We want that to happen this next legislative year. The second resolution is a family engagement resolution, and a couple months back, our state president, Mary DeYoung-Smith, spoke to you, and she gave you the leaflet on national PTA standards for family school partnerships. Many states have adopted that as the framework for their family engagement, and we would like to see Michigan do the same. So you can obviously read the resolution, and I met with Superintendent Flanagan in February and kind of mentioned that we were going to be working toward this end. We need families engaged in their children's education, and we need to do it a bigger way. The national standards have been around for a while. They have been effectively implemented, and they do lay the groundwork for an excellent way to begin that process and to sustain that process. That would be the second resolution. The third one is related to dropout prevention, and it says 2010 at the top, but that is really code for 2011. That typo will be corrected. And I think that I mentioned the resolution. I don't think there's anybody in this room that doesn't think we need to work on dropout prevention, but when we bring this to our delegates and ask them to have a resolution in place in Michigan, that allows us to better work to advocate on behalf of that. So that would be another one, and I'm trying to hurry because there are a couple more things I want to get through. The third thing I wanted to get through overall is advocacy in general. This last year, the PTA in Michigan has been focusing on the school funding issue, but we are going at that in a much bigger way moving forward. You'll be hearing more from us on that. Our Advocacy Day this year is May 12th. We will be having a rally at the Capitol in the early afternoon. With respect to that, and some of the details are still being formed, so I'm not going to speak out of turn without having all of the information, but I will get that information out to you. We will be sharing the steps of the Capitol with Kevin Epling because he's going to be there on the bullying issue, which we are strongly involved with, and it's going to be all about children and doing what we should be doing for them. The third thing, and it's at the end of your packet, those are samples of those documents. National PTA released these parents' guides to student success, and they are based on the Common Core standards. Those have been in development for quite some time. They address mathematics and language arts and literacy. There are individual ones for each of K through 8, and then high school is covered by two, one for mathematics and the other for the language arts end of it. These documents are designed to be disseminated to parents in general. To make them more comfortable with their understanding of the curriculum. I think parents live in fear of what they don't know about what their students are supposed to be learning, and hopefully to help them get to the place where they might actually visit what's on the website in the bigger way. And it offers them some ideas and things that they can do at home. So that's, I got it all in.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker is Ashna Khanna. Hopefully I said that correctly.
You know, before that, I just want to acknowledge that Sandy was very helpful recently through her conference and her newsletter. We have reason to believe that not all parents have received the MEP data for their kids. And we wanted to put at the other end of the spectrum, plant in parents' ears that if that were to be happening in the few cases where it is, that you need to make sure it happens. You know, you don't know what you don't know. And at any rate, they gave it a major front page piece to make sure that everyone gets what they're supposed to get through their school.
When was it that parents were supposed to have received it?
It's coming up. I mean, help me with this, guys. This is, when is the MEP stuff supposed to have been received?
Schools have gotten the food reports.
Right, but so that was very recent, though.
Right.
That was in 10 days ago?
Back in December.
Schools got it back in December.
The schools did, but they couldn't disseminate.
They hadn't had it approved to disseminate.
What Joseph and company have really improved on the last few years is that before the beginning of a new calendar year, the schools have the data so that they can use it during the school year with their teachers and their kids. But to verify it on a statewide basis and have some other things done, it was as recent as 10 days ago.
Right.
And then from that point forward, parents get the individual.
Is there a requirement when parents have to have it by? No?
No, but they have to have it, and we have reason
I
to
don't
believe...
disagree. I just was trying to figure out where's the line in the sand that I could say, you should have had this out by now.
Well, they all have it now. Schools have it, so one could make a case that it shouldn't take more than a week.
Good. That's what I needed to know.
And I'm
Thank
just
you.
saying, we were kind of shocked to find out that there are some that never get it.
Yep.
I'm sorry for interrupting. Please, would you reintroduce?
I sure will. Am I saying your name correctly? Ashna Khanna?
Yeah, Ashna.
Ashna? Thank you for the correction.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. I would just like to take a quick moment to congratulate the new State Board of Education and thank you for being here today. My name is Ashna Khanna and I'm a junior at Farmington High School. I'm here with my fellow youth policy leaders to discuss a very important issue. Just a little bit an introduction of who we are and what we do. We are the youth policy leaders from all over Southeast Michigan. We come from different backgrounds in different areas, and we work together to advocate for diversity learning and youth voice in educational policy. As many of you know, Detroit is the most segregated metropolitan area in the United States. This is certainly not something to be proud of, but we can take full advantage of this and educate through diversity learning. It has been proven that diversity learning equals excellence in education, and it is also agreed that learning in a multi-ethnic classroom has a positive impact on students' personal development because it challenges stereotypes, broadens perspectives, and sharpens critical thinking skills. Diversity learning prepares students to be successful in a rapidly changing, interconnected society where professional and personal interactions take place daily. Today's society is becoming more and more diverse, and students require intercultural skills to be successful in the real world. Diversity learning is an engine for economic development and work-based training in the global marketplace today. This is exactly what Michigan needs right now more than ever. Some of the school state board goals for education K-12 are to develop college and career-ready assessments and develop and implement measures of student growth. Diversity learning is an essential asset to a student's education and directly relates to the goals of the school state board. We as youth policy leaders have come and presented before you for the past 2 years and have gotten tremendous support and ideas. We have taken the past advice into hand and look forward on taking future advice to make our resolutions of both education and the betterment of Michigan's children into one. We have also started a campaign to support diversity learning. The campaign officially started in January, and since then we have gotten over 3,000 signatures from 4 different communities of a group of 7 people. By signing the declaration, one approves that diversity learning needs to be implemented in school curriculum and teachers should be taught on how to teach in a diverse setting. Not only is it essential for students to be educated, but the teachers need to know how to handle situations in the classroom. This goes hand in hand with the school state board resolution to update teacher preparation and update and implement policy on professional development. Diversity learning could be the key to solving problems and helping education. The outcomes of diversity learning are very deep and affecting, as I am a living example of it. I have gone through the Summer Youth Dialogues program, and I met with various individuals from all over metropolitan Detroit area. It was a unique experience, and I certainly gained a lot from it. I feel, and what we did was that we talked about issues and race, and we talked more about that. I got to connect with different people all over metropolitan Detroit. I feel that is the difference in the education system today. We have done a great job telling people not to judge a book by its cover, but we haven't discussed what this actually means in our life and how to actually display this in day-to-day situations. I can personally say that diversity learning has changed my life and has made me into who I am today. I have a new perspective on life, school, and who I am. I would not be here before you and be able to communicate as powerful if it weren't for diversity learning. In Farmington alone, I have presented to the school board there and the mayor, and both have passed a resolution for supporting diversity learning. The youth policy leaders have done great work in their communities too, and we're definitely interested in taking action to a state level. I want every student in Michigan to experience what I have. With the ever-changing society, America really needs this now. Society as a whole needs to come together and understand that only through communication and understanding can the United States go to the righteous place at the top. More specifically, we need to make sure that Michigan has the skills to exceed in the workforce by diversity learning. This is only beneficial to us as Michigan will attract more businesses and people. We know that it is in your power to encourage local and intermediate school districts to implement recommendations that can be implemented without legislation, or you guys can encourage legislation to introduce legislation for recommendations that require statutory change. Both options of which we are most interested in, and it would be an honor working with you. We have met with various people and are working with both the Senate and the representatives to introduce a resolution to pass about diversity learning. That is what we're interested in doing with the school state board too. Thank you for the time, and I really appreciate you allowing me to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We have 4 high school students here today, if you wanted to know who they are.
Please, let's...
Can you guys stand up and introduce yourselves?
My name is Abraham Ayasha from Hamtramck High School. I'm also a youth policy leader, and we're trying to get this moving as fast as we can, so please support us.
My name is Muhammad Ali Hussein. I'm also from Hamtramck High School. I'm here to support my fellow youth policy leaders in trying to get this legislation passed. You guys please need your help.
I'm Sia, and I'm also from Farmington High School, and I hope you guys support our mission to defeat diversity learning.
Do you have to have a draft resolution that you'd like us to look at?
Actually, we do.
Wonderful.
Funny you should ask.
Funny you should mention that. Can we keep this?
Yeah, definitely. Also, do they get cards or no?
Do you want them?
Yeah. We also have our diversity cards here, like I said, that we've gotten over 3,000 signatures alone in a month and a half, and we'd really appreciate it if you could just take a look at it, or if you support it right now, we'd really like your signature, too, on it.
Thank you very much.
I think, by the way, Superintendent Zervalek
Yeah.
contacted me and asked if we would meet, and I think we have a time planned and looking forward to that opportunity. I didn't realize you were going to be here today. Nice to meet you before that.
Nice to meet you, too.
And then, of course, seeing some Farmington High folks makes me realize that when I was superintendent in Farmington, you guys weren't born yet. This is really, really a sobering experience for me. So,
Thank you so much.
John, please.
Thank you.
Hi. Thanks for coming. We normally don't respond to everyone, but I think we're all eager to signal our appreciation and commitment. We are very eager to animate youth leadership in education and our work, and 2, very strongly believe that a more diverse polity and society makes us stronger in all ways. In fact, I'm leaving early at 3 today to go give a presentation next door at the big housing conference on the power of immigrants for economic growth in Michigan. And so it might be a good, it would be a good exercise for us, but a meaningful one for us to work together on your resolution and also what impact we and you want it to have. So why don't we promise to follow up and communicate more on how we can support bringing forward your ideas and recommendations with us and others. Thank
And
you.
don't be surprised if you get emails from us. We'd love to have some meetings.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashna. I'll be looking forward to meeting.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Okay, patience has been demonstrated. This was originally going to be before lunch, but as John said, some are going to leave at 3, and I think we're on target, actually. And the next agenda item is a presentation on using the Michigan Online Educator Certification System and the new teacher induction and mentoring resources. And I'd ask the team to come up and floor to introduce our colleagues.
We still have one more chair.
Okay.
I'll go this way.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, right, instead of left.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started because I think he will catch up with us. We're going to give you a look-see at our brand-new MOEX, which is the Michigan Online Educator Certification System. This is a brand-new system that has just been operational for, a couple months?
Yeah.
And are very, very excited. And next to me are some of the people that have spent how long working on this?
3 years.
3 years. So needless to say, when it got launched, there was a lot of excitement in Flora's shop. So I'm going to turn this over to her, and then the second presentation we're going to do is ASSIST, which is the mentoring program.
Thank you.
floor.
And good afternoon, and once again, as always, thank you for the opportunity to present. And I wish we could have gone right after the Michigan Library, because you'll see how the technology piece kind of flows and ties in with that. But I do want to introduce Michael McHale, Karen Taylor, and Krista Reed, who's the supervisor of the Client Services Unit. And Michael and Karen have really been instrumental in helping to get this whole new system developed. They worked on requirements gathering, business rules, and all kinds of things. And as Sally said, it's been a 3-year process to get this going. When I started in the office in 1993, we did a lot of paper pencil stuff. And you can imagine issuing 50,000 licenses a year, a database that houses hundreds of thousands of records, about 750,000 records. And when I got there, we had file drawers full of little 3x5 cards that had people's certification records, hand typed with carbon copy. You know, it was just really all very old, but that was the way that we did things back then. We had a mainframe database system called G-Link, and if you know anything about mainframes and trying to access data and do things, it was horrific. It was not user-friendly. We could only get certificates printed once or twice a week, because we had to wait for it was the data center at the time to do it. Then they brought the stuff over from the secondary complex. So it would take weeks and months to get a certificate out to a person. So our goal was to see how we could better use technology to be more efficient and more effective in the office, so that the people wouldn't have to work quite as hard. And then we could also begin to increase our customer service aspects and not get the thousands and thousands of telephone calls and people saying, well, I've been trying to call you forever and nobody ever answers the phone, and those kinds of things. So we started working with a vendor called STG, Systems Technology Group, about 3 years ago to develop this system. And we're very proud of what has come out of it. We think that it is meeting all of the goals that we want to meet with it, to become more efficient, more effective, be able to issue certificates readily and get those out to folks. And so we just wanted to do a brief demonstration of it today. And so I'm going to turn it over to Karen and Michael before I talk too much.
Yeah, thanks, Flora. Just to add a little bit to what Flora said, the Michigan Online Educator Certification System, or as we call it, MOEX, is a state-of-the-art system, and it's custom-built to meet Michigan's needs. We started from scratch and went over all the business rules. What does Michigan's certification system entail, and that's how it was developed from there. So I'm going to log in. I guess I should tell you who the users of the system are first. Anybody who has a valid or expired Michigan Educator certificate, anybody who wants to apply for or renew a Michigan Educator certificate, school districts are users, teacher preparation institutions are users, and then Michigan Department of Education are also users. I'm going to log in as an applicant and show you what the home page looks like for applicants. This is the home page that the applicant will see. They will first have to create a password and login name through the Michigan Education Information System. Once they've done that, there's a short self-registration process. They have to go through. It takes about 5 minutes. It's a one-time thing, and once they've completed that self-registration process, then they're able to log into MOEX using the password and login name that's associated with their MEAS account. And this is the page they'll see when they log in. What I'm going to do is show you how an applicant would apply for a copy of their teaching certificate. Prior to the implementation of MOEX, if somebody wanted to obtain a copy of their teaching certificate or other type of educator certificate, they would have to fill out a paper application form, mail or fax it into our office. Somebody from our office would have to process it. We would have to print up a bill, mail the bill out. The person would have to send a check. It would be processed by the bank. The bank would send us the payment information electronically. Then another person from our office would have to go in to that person's file, manually send the certificate to the print batch to be printed, and where it would finally be printed and mailed out. I'm going to show you now the process for obtaining a duplicate certificate.
You say that all in one breath?
Did I? That was a long sentence. First, as an educator, I would go into Manage Demographics just to make sure all my demographic information was correct. If I needed to edit it, I could by clicking on the Edit button. If everything's correct, then I can go to this left navigation menu, Apply for Duplicate Certificate, click on that. It will bring up any type of certificate I have. As you can see, this person has been issued a provisional teaching certificate. They renewed that one time. They were issued their initial professional in 2003, and they've renewed the professional one time. I'm going to go ahead and apply for a duplicate of my latest certificate, which is my professional renewal. So I just click on that radio button, click on the Request for Duplicate Certificate. These are the standard conviction questions we have to ask under the law. I'm going to answer those and click on the next screen. It brings up a summary of my demographic information, how I answered the questions. It's telling me I'm applying for a duplicate of my professional certificate. If all the information is correct, I can click on the next button. That takes me to the signature page where I have to check off that I've read and understood the advisory and that I validate the information, the application is true. And then I would type in my signature, and I'm just, for time-saving purposes, going to drag it over there, and then submit the application. I get the confirmation message telling me what application I submitted. It gives me an application reference number, and it tells me I can click on the Home button to pay the fee. So I click on that, and as you can see, there's a pay fee hyperlink right here. If I click on that, I can pay the fee right now using my credit or debit card.
This is a fake number.
Yeah, these are all, this is all fake information. Fake Social Security numbers, fake names, so.
This is going to solve the deficit for budget. Right?
I don't think so.
No, but every fee is appreciated.
Yes.
Lois wasn't sitting back here with Dave and Linda. I'd say we could move that maybe to $2,500.
Once I've entered all the information, I can click on the next button, and then it'll give me a summary. It'll tell me the amount of the payment, and then I can pay it now. And I get a confirmation that it's been successfully submitted. I can print that or close out of it. If I go back to my home page, the pending payment is gone. The certificate is now in the print batch to be printed up. It'll be printed up and mailed out either that day or the next day based on whether they applied in the morning or the afternoon. So instead of taking, in the past, it would take, in best case scenario, it would take approximately 10 days to get a copy of your certificate. You can get it in a day or two now. Or if you want to pick it up the same day, you can drive into our office and pick it up if you want. So,
fast improvement.
Yeah.
It is. So that's basically the system. That was just kind of a quick run through so you can see how it is. And so far, the comments that we've been getting have been very good. The schools like it, the universities like it, and once the folks out there, the teachers, educators get used to it, they're loving it. They're saying this is so much easier for us. It's a very user-friendly system. And, you know, so once all the teachers start helping each other, you know, I think it kind of, we get a lot of help calls, but as the system gets worked in, and all of the districts should be on sometime this week, right? We're through the pilot phase.
Today is the day everybody
that
wants.
it goes live for everyone. So we are operational.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you
We're
very
happy.
much.
Relief is palpable.
Yes. Nancy, please.
As we go to, not to throw a wrench in the gears here, but as we go to a 3-tier licensure system, how will this, is this geared so that that will accept that those new levels?
Well, we'll have to find some money and start putting that license. We will have to rework the system. We'll have to do additional requirements, gatherings, and put in business rules. I think Karen, no, that was for a different process that we were working on. So that came in after.
The interim teaching.
The interim teaching certificate is another one that we're going to have to get in. We have it on an offline system right now.
Okay.
So that does mean that we do further requirements gathering and business rules, and then getting
Okay.
the vendor back in to develop the software. So.
All right, thank you.
Other questions or comments?
Very good.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks
And
so much.
Karen is retiring June 30th.
Yeah.
She was one of the governor's special dispensations when we begged, please do not let her retire,
Oh.
extend her, so we were able to get her extended
Yeah.
because we were right
We
in
did
the
you in,
throes
huh?
of this. So we appreciate her staying.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. We couldn't have done it without her.
Good. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you, Karen. Mike?
Okay, next is on the ASSIST, which is the Advocating Strong Standards-Based Induction Support. I can say that 5 times really quickly. Better known as ASSIST, that provides modules online 24/7, and Donna Hamilton, who is a major key person in this whole thing, is going to give you a demo. Did you want to say anything else?
No, I'll just turn it over to Donna. I'm done.
Well, thank you for paying a little bit of attention to one of the resources we have for new teacher induction and mentoring. And at the risk of having a play on words, it's sort of more of more. The demonstration this morning on the Michigan Online Resources for Educators is another resource that new teachers and their mentors could use. So this is just going to be a quick reminder for you folks that the Michigan School Code does require districts to provide a mentor to new teachers, to provide an individual professional development plan for those people, and 15 days of professional development across their first 3 years of employment. And so new teachers, as we all know, face a huge challenge when they go into the classroom, and their mentors and principals need resources to help them. So that's what we're going to talk about in about 3.5 minutes here. First of all, on our own website, our page of the MD website, we have some resources for new teacher induction mentoring. We've partnered with Michigan State University and some grant funds to create the ASSIST site that Sally mentioned, and I've been asked to show you some pieces of that. And we also have a partnership with Michigan Virtual University for LearnPort, which is a portal for professional development for teachers. You can look at my notes. Okay. Basically, when we have on our website the actual program standards that were approved by the state board, we also have induction mentoring resources and samples of materials such as a reflective growth plan for teachers. All of those things can be accessed by any Michigan educator just by going to the MDE website. Within ASSIST, and I'm going to show you this website in a minute, I was asked not to jump back and forth between slides and websites. The modules that you see listed on the screen are the 3 modules within the ASSIST site. It's also organized with links for beginning teachers, mentors, and principals. I'll show you that in a second. Michigan LearnPort, as I mentioned, is a partnership between the department and MVU using Title II-A funding appropriations. And it's a free online resource for all state educators, and so that includes anybody who works in schools who needs professional development opportunities, including paraprofessionals, bus drivers, everybody. The other resources that we always refer people to if we get calls are the ISDs and RESAs, who have programs and options for districts to provide job-embedded PD to their teachers. We also have partnerships with the teacher prep institutions, who are trying to work with their pre-service teachers on creating the kind of development plans that will carry them through their student teaching and into their first year of employment. That's my contact information if you have questions after you see these wonderful websites. Now I have to follow my directions to do this. Michael promised to stay here and help me. Where are my favorites? I have to get to my favorites. Okay. All right. The first one I'll show you is just the list of things that people will find when they go to one of our pages on the MD website. You can see that we tried to create a series of materials that would help new teachers and their mentors both design programs and plans and how to help new teachers survive the first year and move on in to the second and third year and continue to grow and improve. And here's the SIFs. These are the modules I was telling you about going across the top that look like file folders. And then we also show the links for the beginning teachers, the mentors, and their principals. The sample I'm going to show you is in the Organizing Induction section. for beginning teachers. And if we look over here, we have a whole series of things that are tools that the teachers and mentors can use, resources. And one of the ones I want to show you is this beginning my first year. We know teachers feel kind of panicky. So here's some material that's an example of what they'll find when they go to this site. Everything from sample letters to families, sample materials, sample activities. Here's one that a social studies teacher might use to get students in a high school situation, in a history class, getting to know each other using some history information. So the site includes resources, it includes articles, it includes sample handouts, it includes activities. So a new teacher can go here when they're feeling stuck and find all kinds of things. There's stuff in here, as you can see down the left, I don't need to read everything to you, that other people can use. The other links include improving practice for everybody as they go through time with more tools and resources. All these links have information on them that will help people in all those different roles. And it occurred to me as we were listening to the MORE presentation, which was actually developed after the ASSIST site was developed, is the need to establish links between the resources page in ASSIST to the MORE site. Because the new teachers who are looking at ASSIST can certainly use the resources that are in MORE. So we already have a link between ASSIST and LearnPort, so now I think we need to establish a link between ASSIST and MORE so that people are literally doing one-stop shopping. And then a quick peek at LearnPort so you can see what's there when people go. Here's the Michigan LearnPort front page, and they have a very jazzy page. All these things bouncing around on the right are the different partners, sources of information for your teachers. You can look at information on LearnPort without actually logging on. I'm on one of the advisory committees for LearnPort, and there was some concern that you'd have to go in and register and sign up and do all that kind of stuff before you could see what's there. But you don't have to. You can go to Getting Started, and you'll get a whole series of links that just give you information that would help you understand what's available to you in LearnPort. For our purposes, we'll look at K-12. And this is a summary of the kinds of things that teachers and principals would find as they look at online courses, self-paced courses, instructor-led courses, all the kinds of things that they might find at LearnPort. And to show you how the catalog works, all of this can be accessed without even signing up. This is the beginning of the course catalog, so if you were a biology teacher or you're worried about where you might find things, you have all kinds of topics you can look for. You can type in keywords and then search by combinations of words. You can look up something that a colleague told you about that was offered by a provider, so you can look for them all those kinds of ways. I'm going to show you one. The stuff you're seeing here on the side are some samples of things, and here's a beginner's guide to computers and the internet. It's a course that people could take, so I'll show you what happens when you go on this. If you look over here on the right, you'll see that it's a self-paced course. It's free. It's available right now. There's an advisory that you'll want to use the Internet Explorer to get to it. You can get SBCEUs. And I think if you actually click on it, you'll see what the syllabus should be here somewhere. Details? No? Oh, right here. If you go to the syllabus, you'll see what they're actually going to cover. So that's a quick peek at LearnPort that would show you the kinds of things that are covered in the self-paced course that you took it at LearnPort. So I was asked to talk about 3 different online resources. I want to point out that all of these have really good connections to MORE, and give you a sneak preview. I'm sure you're going to be hearing from some of the folks in Joseph's shop who are just now developing MOPLs. We all have M's in our acronyms here. That's the Michigan Online Professional Learning System, which is designed to provide online learning components for teachers dealing with assessment issues. So folks in his shop are working on professional development for teachers around assessment. So unlike many situations, we all are talking to each other and we know about these things, and so we can make these recommendations to teachers who call.
Great. Thank you.
Thank
Mike?
you, Donna. Any questions or comments for Donna?
Great resource. Thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for all your hard work, Karen, Mike, Donna. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
And as always, of course, you, Flora.
Thank you.